Welcome to day 13 of the 30-day challenge. For our stretch today, we're going to look at our quads. For our workout, we're going to strengthen our adductors, and our focal step today is beats. For those watching on YouTube, we're just going to look at today's focal step, but if you would like to see the full 30-day challenge, either click the link below or head to myballetcoach.com. Let's have a look now at our focal step. So for our focal step today, we're going to look at beats. You might also hear the word battu, and battu is just the French for the word beaten. So typically beats are a kind of jump, but not always. You can see beats with other exercises, like for example with a battu frappe, or even you can beat a tonju. So a beat involves an extra crossing of the legs before you execute the movement. So for example, if I were to do a normal frappe devant to the front, my flexed foot would just brush straight front from its flexed position. If I wanted to add a beat, I would cross back first, then go back to where I was before I do my frappe. So it's basically adding one extra crossing of the legs. But today for our beats, we're just going to focus on jumps, and we're going to look at entrecôte, entrecôte. We're also going to look at assemblé battu, and we're going to look at some brises. So we're going to start off by looking at an entrecôte. Quatre meaning four in French, and there are 4 parts to this jump. But first we're going to break it down with a much simpler version of this jump, starting off with the legs in second position. We're going to beat the legs and take them back out to second position. So if you're new to beats, this is a great introductory exercise to get you used to crossing the legs in the air and landing. Once you're confident with this, we're now going to add a second beat. So the legs are going to cross front, then back and land. Again, demi-plie, cross the front leg, take it behind and land. This is starting to look a lot more like an entrecôte. Again, let's try with the other leg. Cross front, land behind. You want to make sure that the legs aren't going forwards and backwards. Instead, they're crossing from one fifth position to another fifth position. So the legs have more of a lateral movement. Let's try this again. Cross, cross. Squeeze the glutes and lift the hips. Now let's try this, but from fifth, and this makes it a true entrecôte. Again, remember we don't want the legs going forwards and backwards, but rather laterally, so that we really cross our fifth position. The reason why this is called an entrecôte is because there are 4 parts to it, like I said earlier. The first part is the legs going out. The second part is the first crossing of the legs. The third part is the legs going out again. And the fourth part is the landing. Now we're going to have a look at an entrecôte trois. Trois meaning 3, and there are 3 parts to this jump. The legs are going to cross first in the same place that they are. Then just before they land, they're going to switch places. So if you have your right leg front, it's going to cross front and then land at the back. Left leg would cross front and then land at the back. So that's 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. An entrecôte six works in the same way. There are 6 parts to the jump. The legs go up, they swap again, and then just before they land, they swap a 3rd time. This is a particularly difficult step, and you have to jump very high to manage to get all 3 in. So if you're new to these, I would recommend starting at the bar. If you are struggling to prevent the legs from going forwards and backwards, I would recommend thinking more that you're crossing the tops of the legs rather than just the ankles. If we just cross the ankles, it can get a bit scratchy, but crossing the tops of the legs really secures the 5th position. There are other ways we can add a beat in jumps. For example, we can beat an assemblé, and it's called an assemblé battu. So where a normal assemblé would just join and land, if you want to add a beat, you're going to cross them first and then switch back to where you initially intended to land. Brises work in a similar way, but they are travelling and consecutive. So you brush, they come slightly forwards, They beat, cross and land. There are lots of different ways of beating the legs in a jump, and you don't even have to land on two legs. You could even land on a fondue. So that's a quick look at different kind of beats and how to improve them, and that concludes today's challenge.